let us continue the discussion. What we are doing it, that the enthalpy of formation, enthalpy of formation, enthalpy of reaction and enthalpy of combustion, and we took an example and let us see what the example was. So, we took an example of methane. This is where we stopped, which was at the standard state at the reactant, and the product is also standard state. So, we get the enthalpy of, and then we find out per unit mass. So, one can also look at that. So, that is per kg per mix is delta HR, which is kilojoule per fuel, m fuel divided by m mix, where m fuel by m mix is m of air plus m of fuel, which is 1 by air by fuel plus 1. So, now one can see how this can be used to find out. This is minus 50,016 divided by 17.11 plus 1, which is minus 2761.8. So, one can do this kind of simple example, one can take and do these calculations. Now, enthalpy of combustion also depends on temperature chosen for its evaluation, and since enthalpies of reactants and products are the temperature dependent, obviously, because you have reactants which are coming in, and when they are reacting there is a heat release which takes place. So, obviously, the product will have a different temperature. Now, the heat of combustion, which is delta Hc, which is also known as heating value or calorific value, is typically equal to the enthalpy of combustion, but with opposite sign. And there are two different types of heating values. One is the high heating value or higher heating value, and another is the lower heating value, and that depends on what you get as a product H2O. In the product H2O, if it is in liquid form, then you get the higher heating value, and when the product and H2O in the product is in vapor state, it is a lower heating value. Now, that brings to an important another parameter, which is an adiabatic flame temperature. This is again very specific to a particular fuel, and when it is reacted with an oxidizer or air. So, let us say even for example, methane is reacted with air and methane is reacted with oxygen, the temperature of the product would be different. Similarly, the adiabatic flame temperature would be different, but any given condition for a given fuel, this is one of the theoretical temperature that what is possibly can happen. Now, we will differentiate between two adiabatic flame temperature. One is the constant pressure combustion process, another is the constant volume combustion process. Now, what happens when it is a constant pressure process? So, fuel air mixture burns adiabatically at constant pressure. Absolute enthalpy of reactants at the initial state, say T1 and P, equals absolute enthalpy of the product at final state. So, that is at T adiabatic and P atmospheric. That means there is no pressure change. So, the adiabatic flame temperature definition will get you the reactant enthalpy at Ti and P would be the product enthalpy at T adiabatic and P, and on per unit mass you can find out from these to this. So, this will one can calculate the adiabatic flame temperature, and it is a simple calculation, but it requires some knowledge of composition of the combustion product. So, that means if I have an methane which is reacting or propane which is reacting, then the combustion product needs to be known. Now, the second one is the constant volume adiabatic temperature. So, that is it, T adiabatic, and what it deal with, the constant pressure combustion system such as gas turbine, rocket engine, the appropriate approach would involve constant pressure adiabatic flame temperature. So, depending on the example, one can use different approach, whether constant pressure approach or constant volume approach. Now, when we are dealing with constant volume combustion system such as enclosed explosion or Otto cycle analysis, the appropriate approach would involve constant volume adiabatic. So, there is a big difference between these two processes. One is constant pressure, this is P constant, this is V constant. Now, when you come to constant volume adiabatic flame temperature calculation, so you get an U reactant, that is the absolute internal energy. U stands here not velocity, it is an internal energy at initial temperature and pressure. It should be the product internal energy or the absolute internal energy at adiabatic flame temperature and pressure. Now, most of the thermodynamic property compilations and calculation involve H and U. So, we now compile them. The enthalpy is essentially a information gets from internal energy and the PV. Now, what you can write that from equation 1.41, that H reactant minus H product minus V P initial minus P final would be 0. Now, if you apply the ideal gas law here, so we apply ideal gas law. So, P init into volume is summation of all the reactant Ni Ru T init, which is N reactant Ru T init. Similarly, one can find out at the final PV equals to is the summation over product Ni Ru T adiabatic product Ru T adiabatic. So, it is just an pressure volume relationship using ideal gas one can find out. Now, this if you substitute in 1.42, what we get? We get H reactant minus H product Ru N reactant T init minus N product T adiabatic 0. Now, we have a mixture by N reactant is your molecular of the weight of the reactant, and M mixture by N product would be the molecular weight of the product. So, per specific mass if we write, we get H react minus small h product minus Ru T init by Mw reactant minus T adiabatic by Mw product, which is 0. So, that is your equation what you can get. Now, we move to chemical equilibrium. So, what one can note here, what you get as a product of combustion, they are not simple mixture of ideal products. So, we can use standard ideal products approach to determine the stoichiometry. That means, for example, methane is burning with air, you get CO2, H2 and excess nitrogen, and that is the standard ideal product that you use. So, for example, ideal combustion product for a hydrocarbon fuel, if it is stoichiometry, it will be CO2, H2, N2. If it is lean, you get CO2, H2O, N2, the excess, because this is a lean condition. So, excess oxygen. If this is rich, you get CO2, H2O, N2, but then you get some CO and H2, because that is a rich. So, hydrocarbon, this would remain not, this is completely not consumed. So, you get back this kind of things. Now, if you look at the list of real combustion products as we listed here, there will be plenty, because any hydrocarbon reaction goes through a series of multiple reactions, and that we will see once we go to the kinetics, that how a particular reaction actually goes through a multiple. So, typically you get the global products like CO2, H2O, N2, O2, H2, OH, CO, and there are plenty of other radicals. There would be plenty of other radicals which will be there. So, the radicals, they are formed and they are the actually carrier of any reaction, but they are getting consumed. So, at the end you get to see the global products, and rather you can say there are some major species. So, always any combustion system you can have some major species and there would be some minor species. So, major species like CO2, H2O, N2, O2, H2, CO, and there are minor species like radicals H, N, O, OH, NO. So, what we want to do here, we want to calculate the mole fraction of all product species. That means, if your combustion product contains major and both minor species, then we can evaluate that. Now, you get to the second law consideration. So, the second law of thermodynamics, which actually gives you the idea of equilibrium. For example, if you consider an constant volume adiabatic reaction vessel in which a fixed mass of reactants form products, as the reaction go along, T and P rise until a final equilibrium condition is reached. So, this final state, what the first law gives you, that gives you the energy balance, and you can find out how much heat is evolved due to the reaction. But when the first, but second law will tell you the final state that it reaches. For example, consider the following reaction where CO is burned with oxygen to form CO2. If the temperature is high enough, the CO2 will dissociate and you get to see the reverse reaction. So, this particular reaction, it is not only one way reaction, it could be a reversible reaction also. So, assuming now CO and O2 can form CO2, at the same time if the temperature is high, the CO2 itself form to form CO and O2. So, everything could be part of your combustion product or hot product, and that is why we use a factor that okay, let this much of dissociation will take place. It is not that complete CO2 will get dissociated. So, if there is a some percentage of the CO2 will get dissociated and that will form this much of oxygen and CO. Now, this is, as I said, alpha is the fraction of the CO2 dissociation. So, if we calculate the adiabatic flame temperature as a function of alpha, then we can see what happens. So, alpha 1, that means no heat release. If you go back and see here, alpha 1 means CO2 is gone. So, there is no heat release, because whatever comes in, they remain, CO and CO2. Alpha 0, that means there is no dissociation of CO2. So, CO and O2 will burn and form completely CO2. So, that would be the maximum possible heat release that is there, and if alpha between 0 to 1, there would be variation of T with alpha. So, this particular curve shows how that variation actually takes place. So, this is a fraction of CO2 undissociated 1 minus alpha. So, this axis you have 1 minus alpha, alpha is the fraction of dissociation. So, that you get, and you see how the temperature and the other things they vary. Now, if you apply the second law on these things, then you can find out the entropy. And entropy, how you find out, is mixture entropy at the final P would be, these are the species Ni at Tf and Pi. So, this will get you 1 minus alpha into SCO2 plus alpha SCO plus alpha by 2 SO2. So, that is your 1.47. So, the mixture entropy would be at reference 1 plus T reference to Tf dt by T minus Ru ln Pi by P naught. So, you can find out that thing. Now, if we plot the mixture entropy versus alpha, we see that entropy reaches maximum at alpha equals to 0.5. Around that time it will be maximum. Now, for second law requires that entropy change in internal to the system, which is greater than, because the system entropy is changing, and the mole fraction will shift toward the point of maximum entropy when approaching from both sides. And as soon as you reach the maximum entropy, there would be no change in the mole fraction, which is not allowed. So, that will form the basis of your equilibrium, and one can formally put the condition for the equilibrium is that change of entropy is going to be 0 for given u, v and m. Now, if you fix the internal energy and volume and mass for an isolated system, so one can apply first law, which is your equation 1.41 that we have derived. You can use second law and equation of state 1.2 define the equilibrium T, P and mole fraction. So, you get all these things. Now, there is another important function, which is a Gibbs function. For an isolated system or of fixed volume, mass and energy system, the maximum entropy approach demonstrates the role of second law. So, in most typical system, however, equilibrium is given for a T, P and phi. Now, Gibbs free energy, which is designated as the enthalpy and T and S, that gives you an idea what happens to the reaction. So, in terms of second law Gibbs free energy, the Gibbs free energy is always less than equals to 0, which clearly states that it is always decreases spontaneously isothermal isobaric change of fixed mass system. So, this will allow us to calculate the mole fraction at a given pressure and temperature, and when it is an equilibrium, this should be, the change is 0. So, once the change is 0, from the equilibrium one can find out the Gibbs function. Now, for a mixture of ideal gases, the Gibbs function of the I species can be given. So, again these are very basics of your thermodynamics, or rather basics of your combustion processes, and this would be very much required once we go along. So, this is a Gibbs function at standard state and pressure. Now, when you consider a reacting system, that means there are multiple species which are involved in the reaction. So, Gibbs function of formation will be represented as Gibbs function at a particular temperature or at the reference one, then the stoichiometric coefficients or the reactants. This is the number of reactants, J represents the number of reactants which are present in that particular system, and their Gibbs function. So, as I said, nu J I are the stoichiometric coefficients of the elements required to form 1 mole of the compound of interest. Let us say the example that we had, so O2 would be 0.5, nu prime C will be 1 for forming 1 mole of CO from O2 and C. Similar to the enthalpies, Gibbs function of the naturally occurring elements are having 0 values at reference state. So, this is very important when you talk about the enthalpy of formation or Gibbs formation energy at a reference state for a particular element. Now, when you have a mixture of ideal gas or gases, then G mix would be summation of Ni Gi, which is nothing but your summation of Ni at Gi given temperature plus Ru T ln Pi by P naught. So, that is your equation. Now, for a fixed T and P these are fixed. So, you can find out the equilibrium condition that dG mix is 0. So, that is d Ni Gi 0 at T plus Ru T ln Pi by P plus summation of Ni d of Gi T Ru T ln Pi by P naught. So, that is 0. So, this is your 5.7, this is 5.8. So, that will get you the equilibrium condition. Now, second term in the last equation, essentially this term is 0 because d of ln Pi equals to d Pi by Pi. So, and summation of d Pi is 0 because total pressure is constant. So, then we get dG mix equals to 0 equals to d Ni Git naught plus Ru T ln Pi by P naught, which is 1.59. For a general system, one can write where AA plus BB equals to EE FF, something like that. So, one can define a very generic system and do that. So, change in number of each species is proportional to its stoichiometric coefficients. So, dNA would be minus kappa A, dNB would be minus kappa B, and so long dNE would be kappa E D in F, kappa F, like that. So that's how, if you do that, now you put everything together. So this looks little messy, but 1.61 into 1.59 and eliminate k. So you get minus A plus B E F, that would be your equilibrium condition, 0, and if you find out, I mean do little bit of algebra, you finally get this, and that is a simple algebra one can do. Now what you can look at it, that the previous equation 1.63, the left hand side is a standard state Gibbs function. So this is what we are talking about. So this is a standard state Gibbs function change. So that would, one can write that change of Gibbs function would be this much and this would be another one. So natural logarithm of the previous equation, if you take, you get the equilibrium constant Kp in terms of all the partial pressure. So then one can write that Gt naught is Ru T ln Kp, which is your 1.6 is B, and Kp is exponential component of minus delta Gt Ru T, which is 66B. Now the 65 and 66 qualitative indication of whether a particular reaction. So that means the 65 and along with 66, these two equation 1.65 and 1.66, they will give you an indication whether a particular reaction favors products or reactants at equilibrium. If it is reactants, then if delta Gt0 greater than 0, that will give you ln Kp less than 0, which means Kp would be less than 1, or if it favors the products, then your delta Gt would be 0, which would be ln Kp greater than 0, Kp greater than 1. So that is how you get it. Now similar physical insight one can obtain by considering the definition of Gt in terms of enthalpy and entropy change, which is Gt is delta H naught minus T delta S naught, and if you put this one back in equation 1.66b, you get Kp is exponential factor of minus delta H naught by Ru T into exponential delta S0 by Ru. Now for Kp greater than 1, this favors the products and delta H naught should be negative. So this would be always negative, and it would be also positive changes in entropy lead to Kp greater than 1. So this is how you can find out the relation between these Gibbs function and all these things. So we will stop here today and continue the discussion in the next lecture. Thank you.